Hi, so today I'd like to talk to you about the story of Sleeping Beauty. Now, I'm sure you've all heard the story, especially if you're from Europe or America, but I've got a different take on it. Maybe you've heard of narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a disorder where a person will have trouble staying awake when they're doing daily tasks. They can suddenly actually fall asleep while they're doing something. And obviously that can be very dangerous if they're driving a car or something, and that can actually happen. Narcoleptic people also tend to sleep more hours than the average person. There is another disorder that I used to suffer from and my daughter suffers from called hypersomnia. And hypersomnia is similar to narcolepsy in that both of the two you will feel a lot of fatigue during the daytime sleepiness, but with hypersomnia, you'll sleep an excessive number of hours, whereas with narcolepsy, you'll also fall asleep during the day, quite uncontrollably. In extreme cases of hypersomnia, people have been known to sleep for days, sometimes several days, before they wake up. And obviously, this can be a very serious problem because they have to be cared for while they're asleep. So anyways, I believe that Sleeping Beauty really was not bewitched, because I don't even believe in this whole thing about witches. I used to know some Wiccans, and I talked to the leader of the coven, and who was acquainted with. I asked her about the magic they use, and I said, is it possible for your magic to affect somebody who is not part of your religious belief, which was called Wicca? And the lady said to me, no, you have to believe it for it to work. Which makes sense, because just like when you have the placebo effect, when you take a sugar pill or other fake pill, and yet you benefit in ways similar to a person taking a trial medicine or even a real medicine, when you believe in the power of magic, it has a greater chance. There's a wonderful example of this from Indonesia. There was well, probably still is, a stage hypnotist by the name of Romy Raphael. And he would take a person's hand and he'd ask the person to relax their arm, and then he'd shake their arm and he would release very suddenly and strongly their hand, throwing the hand downwards, and at the same time say sleep. And he became very famous doing this, and because of this is now not actually a way to hypnotize people, but because so many saw it and it seemed real, people actually became susceptible to this technique, being weak-willed enough to fall under the spell of what was basically a hypnotic technique developed for television that was not a genuine technique. So some people are just too suggestible. Anyways, so hypnotism is an interesting phenomenon, but I'm kind of getting away from the topic here of Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty probably had narcolepsy, or more likely she didn't have narcolepsy, but she had hypersomnia. And back in the days when this story was created, whether it was based on a true story or not, people who would experience this problem, especially like family members, they would probably feel like, gosh, what's wrong with my daughter? And there probably would be some person that was believed to be a witch, and they didn't have a good relationship with that person, and that person would be the scapegoat. Now, would that be because of superstition, or would that be because the royalty did not want to admit that their child had a problem with sleeping? Well, it could be either of the two. It could be both of the two. There's really no way to know for sure. But my take is that the princess had a problem with most likely hypersomnia and would sleep for days on end, and the king and queen believed one or both of those things, and that story was spread, and clearly there was probably an unfortunate person who became the witch and became the scapegoat and was persecuted. Maybe the person was a nasty person. Maybe the person was just an innocent victim. I really don't know for sure. But I thought I'd share this interesting take on the story of Sleeping Beauty with you, and I hope you found that interesting. Thanks.